By the time the framers got to Article 6, they were just tying up loose ends. Article 6 doesn't create flashy new branches of government, but it's the glue that holds the whole system together. Debates, supremacy, oaths, and religious tests. 4 short clauses that quietly shaped the backbone of our republic. And welcome to our republic.
When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political band,
sailors and airmen of the Allied Expeditionary Force.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the founding fathers. Not
one small step for man. Those 3 hallowed words reverently dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, what you will be.
We pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
The first clause says, all debts and treaties made under the Articles of Confederation are still valid under the new Constitution. So this clause was the validity of debts. Why? Because the United States was broke and drowning in IOUs. The last thing the framers wanted is for foreign governments and lenders to think, oh, a new system? I guess that means you don't owe us anymore. And that would have tanked America's credit and probably restarted the war. So Article 6 opened by saying, yes, we still owe you money. Don't worry, France. We're good for it. The second part is the Supremacy Clause. This is the nuclear core of Article 6. It says the Constitution, federal laws, and treaties are the supreme law of the land. In plain English, when state laws and federal laws collide, federal law wins. And this was a game changer. Under the Articles of Confederation, states acted like independent countries, printing their own money, making their own trade deals, ignoring Congress whenever it was convenient. The Supremacy Clause shut that down. From then on, if Virginia and Massachusetts tried to pass a law that contradicted the Constitution, it wouldn't fly. This clause made the Constitution more than just a suggestion. It made it the final word. And this is where a lot of debate comes in, right? Like, how can states prohibit my Second Amendment right? My Second Amendment right shall not be infringed upon. We're going to talk about that in depth when we get to the Second Amendment, because I personally believe that all laws in the states that prohibit me from buying a firearm, anything that prohibits my ability to just go to the store and buy a firearm and have it, is infringing on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But that's my opinion. We'll get to it. The next section of Article 6 requires every federal and state official, from senators to judges to local legislation, to swear an oath to support the Constitution. I'm honestly of the opinion that more often than not, they break that opinion within the first, or that oath within the first day. Most of them. They are not concerned with upholding the Constitution, which is why we have what we have here today. The oath wasn't symbolic. It was a way of binding everyone in the system to the same rule book. No excuses. No, but my state disagrees. If you took office, you swore loyalty to the Constitution first. And I think that we need to really, really hammer that into our elected officials, or we need to remove them immediately. This was one of the framers' secret weapons against disunity. If all the officials are bound by an oath to the Constitution, the odds of states splintering apart shrunk dramatically. And then there's the last part, no religious test. Finally, Article 6 ends with a revolutionary clause. No religious test shall ever be required for public office. This was radical in the 1780s. In Europe, governments routinely demanded that office holders belong to a certain church or swear allegiance to specific doctrines. Even in some American colonies, religious tests had existed for decades. But here, the framers drew the hard line. Your faith or lack of it cannot be used to keep you out of government service. That didn't mean America was an atheistic state, right? Far from it. We already covered how most of the framers, and all of the framers, were Christians. but they wanted to ensure the new republic avoided Europe's bloody religious wars and didn't lock the government behind denominational walls. So why did Article 6 matter? It's only a handful of sentences long, but it solved 4 enormous problems. It kept America's credit intact. It made federal law supreme. It bound officials to one constitution, and it banned religious tests for office. And without these, the United States might have collapsed into a patchwork of squabbling states, broken promises, and certain political affiliations. Instead, Article 6 gave the constitutional authority that no state could overrule. Article 6 doesn't give the glory of Congress, the presidency, or the courts, right? But it is the backbone, right? It is a good backbone. It made the Constitution the supreme law of the land, forced every official to swear loyalty to it, and shut the door on the idea of government by religious gatekeeping. Really appreciate you taking the time to listen. And remember, history isn't boring, especially when one short sentence made sure America's promises were honored, the laws were supreme, and the leaders only answered to the Constitution. See you next time.